Hi, I'm Tonie Joy, and we're in a house I live in rural Maryland between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. It's nice, I can make as much noise as I want. And no one cares, I don't really have any neighbors. First band I was ever in was Moss Icon, and then after that I was in a few other bands, UOA, Universal Order of Armageddon. And then for a long time, since the late 90s, I did a band, Convocation of. And most recently I've been doing a new thing called Conjurer. I guess I've been playing for a little over 30 years now.
Found a Thin Lizzy record. All right, there we go. Right on the front. There's this one. This is the first UOA 7-inch. It's on Bourbon Scum, which is the label that Tony ran. And this is some of my favorite artwork ever for a record cover. It looks so cool. I was probably 14 or 15. I saw Born Against in the basement of Mama Joe's Pizza. I think that's what it was called then. It had a lot of names. And I was a big fan of them, but their lineup changed a lot. And at the time that I saw them was at the tail end, and Tonie Joy was playing bass, and Brooks Headley was playing drums. And the two of them were in Universal Order of Armageddon, which I believe at that time was just starting out. Probably like 3 or 4 months later, UOA came through Cleveland and they played at a place called Gallery Cafe, and I went up to go see them. And I would say that show kind of totally changed my perception on music, I guess.
For me, it was always to some extent, who I was playing with. And I mean, we never really had a real specific idea. None of the bands I was ever in, we really we're totally gonna sound like this. It was more just this certain group of people got together and kind of sounded a certain way, and it just sort of evolved and just did what it did. Even then, when we were 17 or 18 or 19, if you looked at the shit we were listening to, you would have just been that's totally weird, you know?
UOA totally had their, everybody in the band was kind of their own weirdo, and they were they sort of created a vibe. There was an atmosphere, I felt to the show. It's if Deep Purple replaced their bass player with a Harley Davidson engine, and it was louder than everybody else, and someone was just yelling over top of it. It was fucking perfect music. But their gear had a thing to it. It wasn't new, it was old, it was beat up, it was odd size, the Marshall A10 and the Marshall 215 cabinets, odd sizes. I never saw one of those before, and that's what got him on my radar. It's why I still play one today. He was using a Fender Mustang. It was the Daphne Blue, I think the color of it, and it totally influenced me there because all the bands were playing Gibson, SGs, everyone SGs. They just had, there's some character to it. It's just, they just had cool stuff. You wanted to keep staring at all their gear. It seemed to me like it mattered to them, what they were, it was curated or something. He didn't use any pedals. I feel that was pretty commonplace back then. No one in the punk rock bands were really using pedals.
Part of when I was younger, and I didn't really even have as much money to buy all the pedals. I see all these cool, crazy pedals, especially back then. Even vintage pedals weren't as expensive, but still. But also, I also felt at times maybe the music was not, there wasn't enough room for experimenting with a lot of like pedals, and I guess as I've gone on playing, I've realized like that's not necessarily always true, even if stuff seems like really loud or thick. But I just started like, you know, for years using just basically I would have like maybe a distortion pedal, and for a while I had a flanger, then switched to a phaser, but not much more beyond that. And then when I first learned about EarthQuaker, people had always kind of like steered me towards you all and had nothing but good things to say. And I didn't even realize Jamie owned it at first, you know, or he founded it, you know. So it was kind of funny, like after I'd already heard about it and people saying good things, and I was like, oh, whoa, I know that guy. So I felt like, oh, well, you know, this guy kind of comes from the same underground background that I do, and like I felt like this I felt right to me. I just kind of went through everything that you had available and sort of started with the basic, you know, 4 or 5 things that I felt like I could implement now, kind of work into what I'm already doing. And obviously, like a fuzz pedal is like a no-brainer. Yeah, I mean, this was a good place to start for me, and I probably don't even need to get more for a little while longer, you know, but I'd like to.